What's up, Crusaders of Crypt Nation?
What's up?
It is episode 37. We all know the date today, finally.
Today is 9/11.
That's right.
So we'll do a quick little moment of silence for 9/11. So today is it's Wednesday, and there's a lot of big news. We have the very first time a U.S. president has ever called for negative interest rates. So President Trump is calling out the Fed yet again, calling them boneheads, calling Jay Powell, who is the chairman of the Fed, that he has no idea what he's doing. So we're going to get into what that means. We have GXChain getting shuttered up by the Chinese authorities. So that we will get into. That's a crazy one. What else do we have?
CoinGecko releases a new trust score for exchanges.
Yep.
And a new study reveals registered exchanges by country and a whole bunch of other very interesting stats of how Bitcoin flows internationally.
Yeah, so that report just dropped today, and we will we'll cover that. But so first, let's talk about the implications of President Trump's tweet calling for negative interest rates. So there's first off, fucking cojones on that guy right there. But basically, he's saying that the U.S. dollar is so strong that it has a little bit of room to seed, right? It has a little bit of wiggle room in order to, when you lower the interest rates, you essentially devalue the currency. So he's saying that, it's so strong that we could afford to devalue it a little bit and refinance our debts. But that's not good because that devalues your savings. If you have money in your savings accounts, that it devalues it. So it's not necessarily a good idea, but he wants to keep credit cheap. He wants to keep the economy growing. And the narrative is that, he wants obviously to get reelected. So he doesn't want a big catastrophic economic downturn towards the end of his cycle. We've already seen the yields, the 10 and the 2-year bond yields start to invert, which is an early sign. But, I don't think we would hit negative interest rates. Germany already has negative interest rates and some big countries do. But, at the end of the day, he's just trying to say, let's lower the rates and let's refinance some debts.
Well, this is something you say all the time. Cheap money is cheap culture.
Exactly. It's exactly.
Devaluing your currency is pretty much a sign of the end.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be good for Bitcoin because people are going to flee this cheap money and they're going to go to some money that has a set monetary policy that isn't at the whim of a core group of people who could decide, the inflation rate or the interest rates of this thing. It's just, it's absurd.
Yeah. We were talking about failed currencies on Twitter today. And, some very major countries have had complete failures of their currency.
Mm-hmm.
Germany did. It couldn't pay for its reparations from World War I, and it had to form a new currency. Zimbabwe, Peru, Argentina, Chile,
Venezuela.
The list goes on and on and on. So currencies are not like this very stable thing that you can rely on in the first place. The US dollar and the British pound are pretty much some of the longest running currencies. Like even China, which has been around for 5,000 years, just had to redo their currency back in like the 1940s.
Yeah. So
60s, whenever it was.
Yeah. It's
not that long ago.
Not that long ago. And by historically speaking, most fiat currencies have failed in the past.
Because they're smoke and mirrors.
They are smoke and mirrors.
They're not backed by anything. It's just an opinion. And that's why Trump can say...
It's just the strongest military, essentially.
Yeah, basically. So, but that's changing with Bitcoin.
Yes. So let's move on to these Chinese authorities smashing some ass over in China at GXChain. So what the hell happened over there?
So GXChain did an ICO in 2017. They're a data marketplace. They're a digital identity provider. They are a legitimate business. For all the scams that come out of China, they're not one of them.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a pretty legitimate project.
It's a top 100 token, or at least it is for the moment. WWAN reports that the office in China has been taped closed by Chinese authorities, and there's no real word from the team. The token price is plummeting. We don't really know what's going on. But the speculation is that the Chinese government just doesn't like the type of business they're doing, selling and buying data, consumer data, and providing identity, which the Chinese government has a monopoly on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, it's beyond me that any shrewd businessman would want to start a data company in China behind this massive Chinese firewall of data. And it's the most protectionist company out there, or protectionist country out there. So it doesn't surprise me that this happened.
No. So I have to wonder if their founders are even in China, and if they are they in jail, or do they have more offices offshore?
Yeah.
What's really going to happen? We definitely need some more clarity on this. And
I'm sure Dovey will be reporting more on this. In other news, we have CoinGecko, which is like CoinMarketCap, but a little actually more intricate than CoinMarketCap, I might say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have a new trust score that they just came out with rankings for the different exchanges. So why don't we dive into that?
So the trust score ranks exchanges 1 to 10, 10 being the most trusted and the highest level of trust, which is only given out to 6 exchanges: Binance, Bitfinex, Bitflyer, Bittrex, Gemini, and Poloniex. Do you see a trend here?
American exchanges
mostly,
and Bitflyer is the only Japanese one.
Yeah, and then nines. There's only 4: Coinbase Pro, Bitstamp, Kraken, and CEX.io. Everything else in the world is considerably less.
Yeah,
so that really paints a picture of our exchange situation, and a lot more work needs to be done to combat wash trading, to make sure that assets are secure. A lot of work still to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that it's still a pretty centralized, but I mean, actually, in relation to the real world, right, or the real traditional world of finance, you only have a few exchanges, right? You have the CME, you got the CBOE, you got NASDAQ, whatever, maybe the Hong Kong Stock Exchange of London, but most of the world's value trades on maybe 5 or 6 venues. So it kind of makes sense that, the crypto world will start to accumulate towards just 5 or 6, high quality exchanges, right?
Which
I think that makes
a lot of sense.
Yeah. It'll be interesting then once there's like the Republic protocol, the REN token, where there's shared liquidity pools between these different exchanges, right? So you could go post a trade on Bitfinex, but I trade on Binance, right? Or I trade on Bittrex, or I trade on Poloniex, and it's shared liquidity between all these things. And that's what some of the DEXs are trying to do as well. But I'm really excited for that future.
Yeah, and at that point, it's just a race for the best user experience and the lowest trading fees.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's going to be a very cool world to be a crypto trader in the next few years.
Yeah.
And a study just came out today from Bitfury's analytics platform called Crystal, and it's called a report on international Bitcoin flows.
What did they find?
2013 to 2019. So it reveals the countries with the most registered exchanges are the US, the UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. No surprises.
No surprise.
Argentina, Russia, Indonesia, India, and Mexico have the least amount of registered exchanges. And then almost 10% of the exchanges included in the survey report no country of origin whatsoever.
Yeah. Sketch.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't exist anywhere.
Yeah, but that was the 3rd largest number.
Yeah, I mean, all the sketch balls.
Unknown. So that's, again, a telling story. It's a very interesting report. Lots of very cool charts. Some of the other information I took away from it that I thought was interesting is in 2013, the leading countries that exchanged Bitcoin was the United States and Japan, exchanging $15 million, and the UK and the European Union exchanging 17 million. These are not the countries, but they're aggregate exchanges in the country. But in just the first half of 2019 through June, the US and Singapore have exchanged over $1.4 billion
each.
So if that doesn't show how fast this industry is growing.
That seems like a low ball estimate too. I mean,
that's just through June.
Well, because
September.
Because you got to think Binance is in Singapore, even though they have different jurisdictions and stuff, but that's $1 billion a day.
That's just exchange to exchange transfers of Bitcoin. That's not buying and selling volume.
Understood.
That's not private wallet to private wallet. That's just exchange to exchange.
Or is it just exchange to exchange, or is it peer to peer as well?
It's not peer to peer. It's just exchange to exchange. So just looking at this small amount of the actual transaction volume on Bitcoin, not buying and selling, but just movement, 1.4 billion.
That's pretty impressive.
Just from moving exchange around. That you could say that's just arbitrage.
Yeah, it very well could be.
That's enormous.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's nuts.
So if we're just comparing apples to apples from 2013 to 2019, that's what, like 100x, 1000x?
Yeah, it's like 100x, man. That's nuts.
That's nuts.
And that's today in crypto, just getting nuttier and nutty every day. 9/11, we want to remember all those good men and women that went to war after this and that died in the catastrophe that happened in New York. So our thoughts are with those families, and our prayers are with those families. And we will catch you tomorrow, the 12th of September, for episode 38. Stay tuned, guys.